Hello, everybody. We are live.
Yeah, we are. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Oh my goodness
Hey.
me. I'm just going to start by saying that my life has dramatically changed since coming across the tools that talk to the entities. And it is considered a very strange topic. And yet, where do we go to when we die? Is my personality just this is my body and there's nothing else beyond this? Or have I had many lifetimes? And
Hmm.
a lot of people have very strong points of views about this. And so for me, when I came across Talk to the Entities, we're going to talk specifically tonight about house clearing and space clearing. And so basically, when I came across the Talk to the Entities, the tapping that you're doing is it's just a bit noisy for me. If you could stop that, please, Mr. Troy. See, that's one of the things. I'm super autistic, and I hear every sound and every note. And for someone who's aware of the entity world, and you haven't been given tools, what you're aware of when you see something out of the corner of your eye, then you are walking through life massively impacted by a world you've been told to deny, reject, and not acknowledge. So where would you like to go with this conversation? Because we can go in many directions.
Hmm. Yeah, I get maybe we can talk about what is house and space clearing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So basically, I'm going to tell this true story because I'm Irish and that works as such. It works to tell a true story. So a couple of days ago, I had a message from a client in the Middle East, and her daughter was waking up super stressed, like so stressed. And she's the cutest little kid I've ever seen. And so I say to her, is she aware of the entity world? But she tells her mom in dreams. And so what occurs is the only way to describe it is people have lived in that house. Depending on the age of the house, it could be 200 years old, like we have in Ireland. I'm not sure you have these in Turkey. In Ireland, we have what we call terraced houses. They have them in the UK as well. So you've lines of houses. And going back in Irish history and UK history, these houses would have families living on each floor. And so a lot of these people that had bodies and lived in these houses, their partner, husband, would have went to work and not come home. And so the person doesn't recognize that they died. Or you have all these past energies, people that had bodies that haven't moved on. And so the house clearing is getting totally present with the house that you're in, or a house that you own, or a house that your parents lived in this case, with the little girl in the Middle East. She was getting present with the house, and she knew a lot of what was going on, because these kids, they know a lot what was going on, because kids tend to have not shut down their capacities until they meet with parents that have fear and rejection of the entity world, and then they look to shut it down. And so there's all these energies, let's call them, not brought to the light, so to speak, or unprocessed. And so it's a very simple clearing that, first of all, when you put your energy on the house, that you're saying, like, everything that is lived here, you know, you weren't always, I'm going to say, Heike, living in Berlin in a house that I now live in as Rachel. And this creates so much disruption. And there's such simple tools to clear it. And when we talk to the entities, you've got to be willing to clear and communicate. And the basic clearing, identity clearing, is who were you? Who were you? You weren't always Rachel in Cork, or you weren't always Heike in Berlin, or, Mustapha in Turkey, in this house. Who were you before that? Because the entities will be like, this is my house. I had it in my house in Ireland. The lady that was there before me, she didn't want to leave, the grandmother. Who were you before that? Who were you before that? Who can you be in the future? And so people don't recognize that we have information that these entities haven't been gifted. We have an ability and capacity. Most people when they have a capacity with the spirit world, even you try, they go to reject, avoid, exclusion. And what we're looking to create with toxic entities is openness, ease, question, and inclusion. And so, because there has been a lack of education, number one, with awareness, and number two, with the spirit world, most people have no tools or no education in dealing with what actually is going on in their house.
Yeah. And I get like that's like one of the big parts for me, and still can be, like really acknowledging like all the energies. And because like what you said is like I would just go to a new place and I will become aware of a lot of energies, or I will start to become like wonky, weird.
Yeah.
And before I actually had to talk in these tools, like like I would just go like, oh, like this is the way it is. I just like feel weird, and there was like no way to deal with or change with it. And like now, like actually having that practical tools and just applying that can create like a huge shift with so much more ease. Or like I would actually start to become like paranoia, but
Yeah, me
I
too.
would like realize that I was aware of like entities or like something else, and like I would just like assume that was me. And I get like that was one of the biggest shifts that occurred for me. And
Yeah. Thank you for
yeah.
saying this. Thank you for saying this, because entities have what we call a magnetic imprint, and that's like their personality, their imprint of their personality, so to speak. And so when you go into a place, remember, most of us have contracted, you described it beautifully, contracted or went like yucky or compressed ourselves in the face of awareness. And you don't have to live like that. You can actually like turn that energy, because this kid, like, she has a massive capacity to change and transform and gift to entities a different future, you know? And so, because we haven't been educated on this, and it's such a like, talking to entities, and yet my point of view is, hang on a second, we've had billions of lifetimes. Like, open any history book. I was looking at Ecuador yesterday, like what occurred there in the 1500s. I mean, that's 600 years ago. Like, how many lifetimes is that? Like, that's 7 lifetimes, the average 7 lifetimes. So where are all those people that had bodies? And have they been, you don't just die, go to heaven or hell. That's just not, it's not light. And if any of this, if you're like navigating this, ask, is it light? Because when something is light as hell, it's true. If it's heavy, there's lots of lies. And with the entity world, this is one of my signs and signals. I start coughing when I'm aware of a lot of entities. There's so much, it's like a spider web, except it's not a natural web of beauty. It's like a web of lies that covers up all the awareness that you've had, because we're not supposed to talk about this stuff according to society. Or for me, I was told that I was bipolar because I could hear the voices of entities, and I didn't have that education. And for me now to have the level of confidence and autonomy that I have in regard to what I'm aware of the spirit world, and that doesn't have to go through anyone else. Like, there is nothing wrong with me. I am just extremely aware of the spirit world, and aware of people who have also entities. And that's from the past, as I did myself, you know. And it's just, so basically, this little girl that I was telling you about, so her mom, she's so lucky to have her mom, because she books a session, and the whole session she lies over, like, while we're talking, pretending like, but she's listening to it all, you know. And then we run some of the access consciousness 3-day body processes on her body, which allows her to, and this is the big part, allows her to have presence with what she's aware of, not go into an old behavior of fear, rejection, because entities are not greater than you. And most entities are real easy to clear. And that's what we're looking to get. For me, I am so, I'm going to say, like, committed to getting this information into the world, because I would actually not be alive only for it, you know. Nobody educated me until I went to find it myself. And I would love this information to be mainstream.
Yeah, and I get like that's like one of the like was like one of the biggest part for me. Like just I get like really like connecting with your body and not buying into like what you are aware of as you. And like I actually had like one of the conversations with you yesterday about like what was going on around me, and I
Yeah,
actually had to like really
yeah.
push myself into be like more present and make different choices that's going to be nurturing and caring for me, and acknowledging like what I require. Like I know I require a lot of space. I require like a lot of space, like being in nature, like because like when I'm in cities for a long time, like I can just like hear everyone's like heads, and like even if there's like not a lot of noises, which there is a lot of noises in the city, like it's just I just know like I actually need to go to nature and just spend some time so I can have that nurturing and caring for me and my body that allow me to have just like more peace, more happiness, more ease in my life. And I get like for me that be like one of the things like I get like really like start to like engaging like with what is going on in the area that I am in, like that would allow me to have like that was like one of the elements that allow me to change things, because sometimes you cannot like leave everywhere. And I cannot like I'm not actually choosing to go in living in the nature like which there's no people. So I am like where I live there is like people around me and there is like stuff going on. So like really like learn to work with, and I get like maybe you can like talk a little bit more about that as well, like actually learning to work with, because like what's going on like with the entities and the energies that we are engaging every day, because like people like go to like hospitals, or they can like go to a building that was a different, like it could be like a factory in the past, or it could be like
I mean, yeah,
and
yeah. I mean,
maybe it could be
first,
like a asylum in the past, like you never know.
well, thank you so much for bringing this up, because this is where I was massively impacted in a negative way. You know, the way you can't see bacteria, but is it there? Yes. And so, first of all, acknowledge that you're aware, asking questions. Is this an entity? And so, years ago, I was coming out of Tipperary in Ireland, and I was driving out after teaching a class, and I was all like, space. And then I come across this area, and it's like, wow, oh my God. I'm like, what is this? You know? And at this stage, I'm going to say this, please be loving and caring and kind to yourself. At this stage, I wasn't recognizing, thank you so much, Shannon O'Hara. Shannon O'Hara created Thought Entities, and so many of us, she actually she changed the trajectory of our future. I was dysfunctional with my entity awareness, and now I actually enjoy it. It took me a while to first include it, then acknowledge it, and then work with it. And it's over time that it's progressed and evolved, and now actually enjoy it. Like that's me, to me, is like, whoa, I get to enjoy this capacity, and it's beneficial and useful. And so I call a friend of mine, Yvonne. Yvonne, if you're watching, love you, girl. And I'm like, hey, I just came out of the village. Can't remember, but I think it was Tipperary, Nina in Tipperary. And I'm like, I'm about 5 kilometers. And she's like, tell me where you are. And sure enough, like in the field across from me, she was like, oh yeah, there was like a mental hospital there and a psychiatric unit, and they used the electric chair up until 1992. Okay, that's only like 31 years ago, you know. And so for me, it's like we become aware of all the and everything that brought up. I can hear people go, ooh, okay. So the access clearing statement, destroy and uncreate everything you've decided that you can handle, everywhere you've decided that you can handle what you're aware of. You can handle it. Is that yours? And use the perceiving versus having tool. What am I perceiving here? And so for me, here are these people that are like stuck. And here's Rachel O'Brien with a capacity to contribute to them from the space of consciousness to move so that they can actually have a different choice. And so the big thing around the education of thought entities is to, if you have a definition in regard to the entity world, you cannot contribute because they're stuck in a definition. This was Margaret in this time, and this is what occurred. Whereas if you're at the space that they're an infinite being, and that you can move them to a different choice, and that you acknowledge they have a choice, this is going to take a while. When you're moving towards that, because first of all, when you're spirit aware, when you open the door to it, it's like a flood, it's like a dam burst, because then it's like not cleaning your house for 100,000 years. And then you deal with your awareness in a way that's gentle and caring, and oh, what do I know? And becomes like, oh wow. And then you start to realize you're not crazy and wrong. Actually, you're extremely gifted and have a capacity in a certain area. And there's a lot of kids with this. And then it becomes like a river, and then it becomes a stream, because now I'm used to, when I go into places, when I go into houses, when I drive past a place. And also, not only that, I'm also aware of places like Lake Bled in Slovenia, where there's like beautiful nature spirits. And so it's not one, like there's not one reality you're dealing with, it's many different realities. And then number one, it's the use of the clearings have allowed me to have a level of peace with what I'm aware of that is unprecedented. I genuinely thought I was crazy and insane. And now to be here and to facilitate a house clearing A to Z, and to know that I'm not crazy or wrong, that actually I have a massive capacity to contribute, which is the greatest thing in the world, to gift entities, a different choice.
Yeah, and I get like that's such a beautiful thing as well, like willing to and be able to contribute to the entities to have a different choice and actually work with them rather than being effect of them, that was in my case, that was like I was being effect of what I was aware of, because I decided like I cannot like deal with it. And like when I had that very pragmatic and ease tools, I was able to change and shift energies with total ease. And like if you're out there and like you are looking to have like more clarity around entities and like how to like clear like spaces, houses, or the places that you are go to and have more ease with it, Rachel is actually going to facilitate a Talk Entity specialty intro. It's called House and Space Clearings from A to Z, that have like so many pragmatic clearings and tools and exercises that you can use. And it's going to be on November 30, it's going to be November 11th, which is in 3 days on Saturday. And I'll be popping the link in below. It's 6:30 to 8:30 Central European time. So, yeah, is there anything else that you would love to add?
What would it take to live in a world that includes all beings? What would it take to go beyond this rejection of the spirit world and actually have openness, inclusion, question, and ease with the spirit world? And yeah, I invite you, and I invite you to know that you're not wrong if you are entity spirit aware.
Yeah, and what actually, if you choose to explore this more, like either with Rachel or reading the books, like what would your life be
Or
like in
any of the
5, 10, any other talk entities facilitators all over the world? Like what would your life be like in 5, 10, and 15 years?
And can I just say something? I didn't finish the sentence that I had in my head. I was thinking any other talk entities facilitator, but you finished it. But if you're aware of that line in my head, what are you aware of with the spirit world?
Yeah. And like one of the tools that we use in Access Consciousness is who does this belong to, which comes from we are aware of other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions, all of us. And if we can pick other people's thoughts, feelings, emotions, I wonder if we can pick other thoughts, feelings, emotions of the entities around us.
That we'll go more into that in the call, because you all have your signs and signals, in regard to when you're aware of the spirit, the spirit world. And I would love to invite you to a very different possibility with the spirit world.
Hey, thanks so much, Rachel Brain, and thank you so much, everybody that is watching. I hope this was a contribution to you so far. And if you want to explore more, you can reach to me or Rachel for more details and how to get any better. Bye for now.